I'm having wicked dreams of leaving Tennessee. Your Santa Monica, I swear it's calling me. Make my mama proud, it's gonna cause a scene. She sees her baby girl, I know she's gonna scream. God, what have you done? You're a pink pony girl. Can you dance at the club? Oh, mama, I'm just having fun on the stage in my heel. It's where I belong, down at the Peace Trunk or Treat. We're gonna keep on dancing at the Peace Trunk or Treat. We're gonna get some candy at the Peace Trunk or Treat. We're gonna win best costume at the Peace Trunk or Treat. Peace Trunk or Treat. Yeah.
Love, it seems like only yesterday you were just a child at play. Now you're all grown up and suddenly, oh how fast these moments flee. Once we watched a lazy world go by. Now the days seem to fly. Life is brief, but when it's gone, love goes on and on. Love is life. Love will last. Love goes on and on and on. Once we watched a lazy world go by. Now the days seem to fly. Life is brief, but when it's gone, love goes on and on. Love goes on and on. Love goes on and on.
my name is Kanata, and today I'm going to read you a book that tells you how you are amazing. And it is called Maybe. Maybe. Have you ever wondered why you are here? You are the only you there ever has been or ever will be. You have so much to offer. Maybe you will invent something that no one has ever seen before. Maybe you will build things that reach high into the sky. Maybe you will help others to see the beauty in each day. Maybe you will speak up for those who can't speak for themselves. Maybe you are here to help in ways that only you can. There will be struggles. There will be fears, and it won't always be easy. At times, it will feel really hard, and you might make a mess of things. You may fall down. You may fail, but you will also get back up, and you will rise a little stronger and a little taller, because there really is more inside you than you know, and this world needs your gifts, your talents, your big ideas, and maybe you are just getting started. What if you are only scratching the surface of what you can do and who you can be? What if you have talents you haven't discovered yet? There is something powerful, even magical about you. You already have everything it takes to do big things. Maybe you have no idea just how good you really can be, and maybe you don't know how much you matter, but maybe just maybe the world has been waiting centuries for someone exactly like you. One thing is for sure, you are here, and because you are here, anything is possible. I did a little like at the end. I'm a kitty. I thought you were gonna be a peacock. I could want to be a kitty. Okay, Betty. Speak up for those who can't speak, or for themselves. What? Themselves. This is my pet dog. She is named Rosie. And I am a superhero, but she can't talk right now. I took my stuff off because my mommy told me to. The end.
Aurelia, how's it going?
So good.
That's great.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here to hang out and have a chat as we wrap up the music, movies, and books sermon series. Even though we know the idea of the music, movies, books, so we still have some small group experiences, some formation experiences for those coming up as well. Now we're kind of coming together. We've got watch parties, and kind of bringing the sermon series part of it together to a close, and just kind of giving folks an opportunity to talk about some of these themes and what it's brought up for them, what it's meant to them to consider finding God or finding the divine, finding spirit, kind of whatever that looks like for them in things that we may not always think about finding that in. It's not always or just in these explicitly religious places. We can find God, the divine, in a lot of places. And so I'm curious for you, either through the sermon series itself or through, we have had the music, the album listening party event. We've got the book discussion group coming up. But so through this music, movies, and books time this fall, what has stood out to you? What's been a highlight for you?
Thanks for asking.
Absolutely.
So I'm really excited because I don't know if people realize that we're going to be doing this. Like, we'll do it again in the spring. We'll do music, movies, books. We'll do an album listening party, and we'll do a book discussion. We'll do some kind of something with movies. And so we're doing it this one time, but we're hoping to just keep exploring this and keep unearthing the sacred through these forms of art. And for me, I think the highlight definitely was the album listening party in September. I love movies. I think I stated that. I love books and I love music, but I'm just not musically inclined. I don't know how to play an instrument. I don't know how to read music notes. I think I'm a just fine singer, but probably no one else does. But so I do like music, but I just don't think I had the level of appreciation that some people have for it. And so I'm definitely one of those people who will just sort of skip around. Like, I'll listen to singles or I'll listen to playlists, but I don't listen often to full albums start to finish without interruption. So listening to Exodus by Bob Marley and the Wailers with a group of people on a record player with intention was it was honestly transformational for me. It was a spiritual experience. And honestly, that album has a lot of very explicitly spiritual themes, but we had really good conversation around it. Just the act of doing it I felt soul shifts within me that I don't have enough time to verbalize in this space. But it was very, very meaningful. And I'm so looking forward to doing that again in the spring.
I guess, okay, you said you don't have time to like talk about all the soul shifts, but what do you mean by that particularly? Or what did that look like for you in the moment to feel like that was happening, to feel like, oh, this is changing, this is shifting, something different's happening?
I think it was just the experience of beauty in community. Also, I was following along with the lyrics on my phone, and I'm very visual, so I needed to do that. I saw other people were doing it too. But I've listened to that music and that album and songs on it a lot. It wasn't new music to me.
Right.
I just never really like ingested the words like that. So to have the depth of meaning with the lyrics, but then also the music was just such good vibes. I don't know what else to say.
Absolutely.
There were a few things missing, but anyways,
we had some great drinks.
But
and
yeah,
we had upside down
we
cake.
did.
It was delightful.
It was like themed. It was fun. People need to come to the next one. But I think that it was just expansive, because we've been so limited in how we've been trained to find God, I guess. And I wanted to ask you, so I have it here, so I don't want to mess it up. But why is it sometimes easier, do you think, to encounter spiritual truths in secular media than in explicitly religious contexts?
I talked about this a little bit in the sermon that I did on music, and for me, where I was particularly looking at Killing Me Softly, but this was also introducing the series a little bit at the time. But I had a big shift when I was in school with this idea that God isn't just in, if we're talking about music, the hymn book, right? And as an evangelical teen, it's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to listen to like worship music or like just music with Christian lyrics or, just contemporary Christian music, CCM. And because that's the only music that's like good or where God is or glorifying to God and things like that. And so having the experience of, and again, for me, it was at the time began academically of saying, oh no, like God's in everything, God's everywhere, God created it all, and so God has to be in it all. It's I don't understand it most of the time, and I'm probably not doing a great job explaining it, but I took that and I went, oh, that means that it's not just feeling of excitement and joy and maybe even the high of being at like a killer worship set. Not about the lyrics about God. It's about how transcendent music can be, and so I can have that experience in a great Sunday morning worship service. I also have it, like I said, at the Taylor Swift concert, or at in a small venue with great indie artists that I love. I think it's easier because it gave me more, right? I'm not just looking at, okay, well, I'm only going to find God in religious music. I used to do Jesus Jams January, so I would only listen to music with Christian lyrics.
It's like a dry January.
Yeah, but for music, yeah, it was, and it's fine, and I'm sure I could still find ways to do something like that. But when I said, oh, God's not just in that music, God's not just in these books. Right. I told you the other day I was reading a book, and it was it's a mass market paperback that I pulled off the shelf at Walmart because it looked interesting, and I figured I was gonna donate it or something. But in the last third of the book, I was like, oh shit, I want to read this. Like, I'm underlining this. I'm dogging, and like, I'm keeping this book, man. It had really great stuff to say.
What do you know?
Yeah, and so I think what makes it easier is because it made it broader. It gave me more to find that in. I don't know if you've had that experience where.
Yeah, I just like the example. I mean, I like music. Actually, all of these are. Because some people have said, why haven't you done video games? Or
Sure.
What about theater? There's so many things we could do, other modes, and maybe
absolutely.
we will explore them. But I think some of the big ones really are like those things you ingest with books. Like you should be reading the Bible and music. You should be listening to Christian music.
Right.
And I was thinking about earlier today how, it was kind of drilled into you that you could only find God in these places, and that if you took in other types of books and music and whatever, it would lead you away from God.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was just thinking about how it really doesn't lead you away. It leads you toward like a more integrated faith where you actually have more divine connections because you're paying attention to your real life. You're not just like, here's my 10% of time that I'm at church and I'm going to think about it, or here's this time first thing in the morning. It's like it's almost like training ground for paying attention in every movement of life and like noticing God more. So you actually, in my opinion, get closer to God and get, like I said, your faith is more integrated with the rest of your life.
I'd agree with that, and kind of like you said, of this idea that, there's certainly many more mediums we could explore for that, right? But for me, coming out of that evangelical context of, right, like you should be reading your Bible and books about Christ and apologetics and learning more and all this stuff, and then you should only be listening to music with Christian lyrics, where that should be the primary, the majority of what you listen to, and then we watch Facing the Giants and Firewall and the God's Not Dead cinematic universe.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't know these?
No.
Oh man, you are
I'm sorry.
missing out. Oh, I'm gonna play a really great clip for you later. The Kirk Cameron cinematic universe. Okay, I'll throw that to you. Okay. And to say no, there's nothing wrong with wanting to create things that are explicitly supposed to be religious in nature and putting a message across that way. I think that's fine. I think people could be better about it. But I also think it's okay to say, but that doesn't mean God's not in these other things.
Right. Yeah.
God is a creative being.
Yeah.
And so I think it's okay to acknowledge that people who are creating and their creative acts and things come from God.
And that's the other thing, is that I feel like sometimes when we limit these things to solely Christian or religious labels, we lose the creativity and we lose the joy. Right. And I mean, honestly, it gets boring. It gets boring. And I think we're like, I need a little bit more play and fun and delight. And so I feel excited when I think about, oh, we're going to have this music listening party and we're going to make Dark and Stormies and like have plantain chips because we're just trying to find a theme, but it's fine. Like the point is we're trying to have some fun and not just be studying all the time. I think like we do a lot of learning and it's important, but sometimes just moving into other genres and things or in styles or whatever are just fun. And I think God is there.
For me, it feels good to be able to say, yeah, I'm just doing the things that I enjoy anyway, and I do enjoy spirituality and that kind of stuff, and yes, I have found over the years that I'm able to more and more integrate that into other areas of my life and not just silo it into my time at church or my time with religious things. And so that has been good for me. I know. I want to ask you this, because you made a great comment about playfulness and things like that. And I think oftentimes we don't think about spirituality as being playful or having that kind of aspect to it. And so you touched on this a little bit in your sermon, but I want to hear just a little bit more from you. What role does imagination play in deepening our spiritual understanding or experiences?
Well, I said this in my sermon, but I didn't elaborate.
Yeah.
Actually, this would be a great conversation in the watch parties this week. I would be curious what everyone else has to say about this.
Yeah.
But for me, imagination, I said it leads us to embodiment. And what that meant for me was I think about some like spiritual practices and the way that I've been able to expand those through imagination. There was a time where it was all about like your quiet time and memorizing scripture. And then there was this period of time where I leaned into ritual and I leaned into engaging my senses when I'm, as a spiritual practice. And so I talked to this to the kids at the kids retreat. We light the incense and we smell it. We have the art, the Christian art, the iconography is something that I collect, and it's not, so it's not just like a pretty picture. There's a story there. And if you really sit there and you dwell on the story, but you're engaging your senses because you can see the imagery and you can imagine, Jesus or whoever the characters are there. And I think that is so important. And the fact is that's what we're already doing. Right. We're just not admitting it. But when we can just admit that we're using our imaginations, we can engage all our senses and bring our whole bodies into the experience of spiritual practice. And then that only expands what spiritual practice even means. Yeah.
And I'm hearing this, correct me if I'm wrong. Imagination is a part of a more embodied faith,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I hear that. I think that's great. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense to me.
I want to ask you, just in closing with the series, just what kind of sticks with you? What are you going to take with you from this?
I feel thankful and a little bit affirmed that other people do this too, or have these experiences as well, right? That I'm not crazy, that I'm not the only one, while I'm listening to something or reading something or watching something, whatever the case, or playing a video game or at the theater, whatever the case may be, feeling that spiritual or universal experience. Because again, I've heard it, through your sermons, but we've also heard it in conversation with other people, right? And as they've, talked about their favorite movies or the album listening party was a really fantastic experience, doing that with other people being a more immersive thing. And so it was just really neat. So I think for me, just kind of having that affirmation and that other people have these experiences as well was really neat for me.
Well, and also it was the only small group we've done so far.
Yes,
we've
that's
got
fair. Yeah.
the book group coming up.
Book and movie coming up. Was there... So yeah, you talked about your highlight already. Do you have a kind of an insight or something that you'll take away?
I don't know. I think I'm just glad we're having this conversation, and I'm really glad that it's not the end of a series. Because usually it's the end of a series, but this is actually something we're going to keep exploring. So
I'm really honestly excited about that. Right, that the music, movies, and book theme we're continuing through the fall. With the book group, and then the movie experience in November, and then in the spring, talking about kind of picking it back up, doing another album listening party, and kind of seeing what people want to do and what people want to experience. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So just keep integrating our our faith and, you know, moving away from the rigidity of compartmentalizing everything. But yeah, thanks for chatting, and I'm excited to continue to chat at the watch party.
That's right. We'll see you guys there.